So here is a case where the theoretical framework at the outset was changed as we went along, thanks to the results of the exploratory survey that was led with semi-structured interviews. So this is still within the study of the agroforests of West Sumatra in the region of Kumabakau, around the lake and its volcanic centre. The exploratory survey that we led over 3 villages allowed us to identify for certain trees some economic functions that we had not planned for at the outset in the problematic. We had set off with a theoretical framework based on the economy of agricultural production, the systemic approach to agricultural systems, and we identified functions which were different and which were of a patrimonial nature, meaning that they allowed families to cater for exceptional expenses without having to borrow money from the banks, which would be inaccessible to village dwellers, just as in many tropical areas. To give you an idea of these functions, I can speak of cinnamon. Cinnamon in this region of Sumatra is generally planted 4, 5, 6 or 7 years after the birth of a daughter. And this is to plan for the marriage of this daughter, and the marriage will be funded with the cinnamon harvest. Why? Because cinnamon, we harvest the bark, and we can harvest the bark between 8 years and 13 years after the tree is planted. So we have 5 years to decide when we're going to harvest. We have no seasonality of production, and we therefore will plan to harvest the cinnamon when we start to plan the wedding of the young girl. So that's one example. And here we have the entrance delay for the production, which is very broad because it's from 8 to 13 years. So we have the long-term stability of the price of cinnamon, a very low phytosanitary risk on the cinnamon bark, which gives this specific species its ability to fulfill the same role as bank savings for exceptional expenses, and in this case it's a wedding. Another different example in these agroforests of West Sumatra concern exceptional expenses but which can be delayed. For example, the purchase of a pump for the kitchen, the purchase of a moped or a sewing machine is done according to the fruit production of great value of a very special fruit variety, which is durian, Durian for those who are familiar with the species. These durians are commercialized in Indonesia. Its production is very irregular, and some years it's very abundant. It therefore provides exceptional income that can then be given over to exceptional expenses. But the harvest might be nil or very mediocre, and in this case we will wait 1 or more years before we undertake this expense, which is an expense either for the investment of a small parallel activity such as sewing, or expenditure for comfort such as installing a pump in the kitchen. So we can see once again that it is the characteristics of the tree in terms of regularity of production or irregularity of production, in terms of accessible amount suddenly in a very fast period because the fruit season is very short, which allows this tree to play this role. Because in the villages we cannot keep a large amount of money for reasons of safety. We might have theft, or so we don't keep large sums of money in the villages. So it is the characteristics of the fruit production of this tree which grant it this economic specific role. So as we saw that the value of the production of the trees, which is the major criterion in terms of production economy, is just one criterion amongst others, such as the regularity of production, seasonality, the time to enter into the productive phase, we therefore changed our theoretical framework. We left the economy of agricultural production and we took the elements of the theory of patrimonial economy or heritage economy. And this gave us new variables that were introduced into the survey and therefore introduced into the semi-structured interview guide, which was enriched by these new variables. We have introduced in the semi-structured interview guide two new variables, two groups of variables. The first is relative to the use of monetary income that are obtained by the sale, the commercialization of agroforestry produce, and the second variable concerns the level of social organization that manages this income. We realized that in certain cases these were managed at the level of the nuclear family, in other cases at the level of the lineage or the segment of the lineage, and in other cases at the level of the entire village. We found the same type of results in other study fields in Central America, where we observed that cattle breeding did not have the function of producing animal produce, but plays an essential role in accumulation of savings. For example, for 1 year to the next, we have a herd that changes. We can have a herd with 5 males and 2 females in a troop of sheep and a herd of sheep. The following year, we'll have just a buffalo. The year after, we might have 2 goats, a male and a female. Then later year, we come back to 5 or 6 sheep with 6 females, etc. So there is no logic of the management of reproduction in the herds, so therefore we cannot understand what people do with their herds when we remain within a production economy. And in the production economy of cattle breeding and in the study of breeding systems, but when we analyze the evolution of the herd by changing our theoretical framework and by coming back to the framework of patrimonial economy, the accumulation of savings, then it's very easy to make a parallel between the evolution of the composition of the herd and the patrimonial events of the family, such as a marriage, the replacement of a production tool, illness, health expenses, etc. So once again, in the study of the economic and ecological interest of agroforests in Indonesia, in the area situated in the south of Sumatra, we first of all identified in the exploratory survey an economic function that we were not expecting in the problematic. The initial problematic was based on the economy of agricultural production. And this time we observed that the essential tree of the agroforests, which is the dama, for those that are familiar with this, in essence, this is the Shurio javanica. This tree produces resin, which is exported, and it takes 15 to 17 years to begin producing. It can even be longer if we want to wait. And these trees, we observed that they don't produce at all for the person that plants the trees, but for the person's son. So how does it work? 15 to 17 years after the dama has been planted, we generally have one of the sons who reaches the age of independence, reaches the age of between 15 and 19 years of age, the age at which he will begin to farm his own plots. At that point, he inherits part of the plots of dama, which are ready to produce. And this plot allows him, as soon as he starts his independent life, a production tool that will provide him with a monthly income, a regular income, stable income, relatively safe income, and which will require 2 or 3 days of work per month around, depending on the size of the plot. The rest of the time, the young farmer will himself clear the forest, grow rice and coffee on his plot, and plant damas to prepare, in turn, the inheritance of his own sons. So we therefore have an intergenerational mechanism of transmission of property from one generation to another, which is based on this tree planting. So the description of this intergenerational mechanism led us to change our theoretical framework. We left to one side the production economy, which does not speak at all of these intergenerational mechanisms, to adopt the concepts of patrimonial economy, heritage economy. And this allowed us to explain why farmers accept to have a waiting period of 17 years to reap the benefits of production on a forestry plot. Whereas in the economy of production, we say that it's good if there is too long a delay to enter into production, that the farmers do not plant the trees.